The disturbing 911 call was made on the 5th of August 2018 by a man named Ryan Cody Lamb. Lamb frantically called the Kalispell Police Department to tell them that he had just come home to find his partner dead. In Lamb's own words, he's not revivable.
911, the location of your emergency. Hey, 306 2 Mile Drive. My boyfriend's unresponsive. He has some poke wounds inside of himself, and he's late. I put him in the shower to revive him. He's not revivable. Please help me. Please.
Tell me the address.
What do I do?
Help you.
No, I need my boyfriend.
What happened?
I don't know. I came home in so much blood.
The Kalispell Police Department quickly made their way to the apartment complex in Flathead County on 2 Mile Drive, where the call was made. After arriving at the scene, the officers found 31-year-old Ryan Edward Nixon dead in the bathtub. Investigations were quickly carried out by the officers on the scene. Shockingly, when it was all said and done, the first suspect arrested was none other than the person who had placed the 911 call and the partner of the victim, Ryan Cody Lamb. Before we proceed, we would like to send our heartfelt condolences to the friends and family members and the loved ones of Ryan Edward Nixon, the 31-year-old man who fell victim to the abominable acts described in this case. Our case begins during the early morning hours of Sunday in Kalispell, Montana. At 3:30 a.m., the Kalispell Police Department took Lamb into custody.
I need to cover my vein. Gene.
What are you doing?
Gene. Yes.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to pull up my pants because they're falling down, and I'm like, I need my man.
Okay, come here.
Yes.
Walk with me.
Oh my God.
Who is that guy to you?
That's my husband.
That's your husband. Okay.
Yes, I just got off of work like 30 minutes ago.
Okay, where do you work?
I work at the Rivals. Yes.
Oh, Rivals? Okay.
Yes.
Stand right here for me.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Face my car.
Yes.
Face my car. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. No, baby. Oh my gosh, please. Please.
Tubes in there. 58.
What's that?
It's Struble. So have a seat for me.
What do you mean?
That's my partner, Struble.
Can I please? I need a cigarette. I haven't had a cigarette or anything. I just walked home. I just got off the clock.
Okay, what's your name?
Ryan.
Ryan, what's your last name, Ryan?
Lamb, L-A-M-B.
Okay.
No, I need to check on my husband.
No.
Please.
Not
please.
right now.
What do you mean not right now?
We're going to send medics in.
No, what do you mean?
We're sending the medics in.
Please,
okay?
Them, please.
We're going to do everything we can.
Oh my God, I tried everything, please.
Yeah,
please.
What do you mean you tried everything?
I tried some CPR, I tried breathing, and then I ran to the gas station to go for help. Okay. We don't have a phone. Yes.
Do you have any weapons on you, Ryan?
Absolutely not. I have a money. Oh my gosh. Tell me. Can I please
turn this way?
I'm sorry, that's my husband. Please. I just came home like 20 minutes ago. No.
You just came home 20 minutes ago?
What time is it?
It's about 3:45. Okay, Ryan, just have a seat.
Yes, sir.
Universal precaution.
Oh my God, my husband. Please. That's my husband.
How long have you been married?
3 years, please.
Okay.
I just came home.
Okay. Well, the medics are here, so they're gonna do what they can.
Oh my gosh, please. Can you scratch my ear? Please. Oh my God. I slapped him and he wouldn't even breathe. And I tried chest compressions and he wouldn't breathe. And I tried to breathe into him and he wouldn't breathe. Like,
Okay. So Ryan, here's
my parents were at the hospital. Like, this is. Oh my God, it's my husband.
no, stay in the car.
I'm not leaving, please. Please, tell me.
Tell you what, the medics are in there right now. I can let you know when I know, but I've been dealing with you.
After seeing the body cam footage of Lamb's arrest and his mortified and distraught reaction to Nixon's state, I'm sure you're all wondering why they put him in handcuffs. It was clear to anyone at the scene that this man was in a lot of pain over the loss of his partner, and his arrest may seem absurd. It was curious as to why it was happening. While the detectives would later state they were trying to get the grieving partner off the scene, some might speculate that there was something more to this arrest than meets the eye. He is devastated over the events that had transpired. From the footage, we see him repeatedly calling for his partner using his pet name, Bubba. Things are so bad for Lamb at this point that he throws up, causing the officers to provide him with a trash can and some water. Eventually, he manages to calm down a little bit. Though he isn't sure of anything, he still hopes that his partner survived the morbid ordeal. Unfortunately for Lamb, he is about to receive a definite answer in just the following minutes.
Denise? Is he in the sea? No!
News of his partner's death sends Lamb into an even more traumatic state. Once again, it's pretty hard to see exactly why the Kalispell police arrested this man in the state that he was in. It is generally true that detectives look at the partner first, but there was something very odd about Lamb's prolonged detention. There are many unanswered questions and confusing situations already, but the burning question on everyone's mind is, why did the Kalispell police continue to detain the grieving partner of the now deceased Nixon? While it wasn't clear at first, the answer would be revealed during Lamb's intense and dramatic interrogation. The initial stages of Lamb's questioning proved difficult for the Kalispell officers. Lamb continues to live in denial about the death of his partner, but amidst Ryan's grief-induced ramblings, he mentions something that might contradict his entire story, the one he had been telling all night. Lamb says his partner was killed by an ex-boyfriend, a man later identified as David De La Rosa. This statement was in direct contrast to everything Lamb had initially told the police, as he vehemently stated that he didn't know what happened. With Lamb's murder theory now on the table, the officers try to get him to talk more about De La Rosa, but that proved difficult as Lamb was rather intoxicated. Ryan had already stated earlier that he had had a beer and some weed. Lamb's intoxication made things a bit tricky for the officer as the questioning continues. This officer eventually leaves after getting all the statements that he could from Lamb. An out-of-uniform detective named Jim Wardensky, who was also the head of the case, soon replaces the other officer. With Lamb in a calmer state of mind, Detective Wardensky continues the interrogation. After trying to get some viable information out of him, Detective Wardensky soon leaves and is replaced by the original officer. The officer tells Ryan that he noticed some of his partner's blood on him. He also said they would like to take a DNA sample to see if they can find any traces of David's blood mixed with Nixon's. This is an attempt to corroborate Ryan's story. The officer also convinces Ryan to take the BAC, the blood alcohol concentration test. The results of Ryan's alcohol test came back as very impaired, with a blood alcohol concentration between 0.08 and 0.40%. In the United States, anything above a 0.08 is considered drunk. People with this BAC level are prone to confusion, blackouts, and nausea. It is pretty clear now that Ryan had lied about having a single beer as he originally confessed.
I noticed you have some Ryan's blood on you.
Yeah.
Trying to...
Yeah, it was, I tried to revive him.
Okay.
Because he was fucking spitting blood out of his mouth, and so he said he was fine, and I ran to Michael's to go use the phone, and I called my mom who works at the hospital, I called my dad who works at the hospital, and then I called the fucking hospital, and they said call 911, and I said, yes, I need to run back and check on him, and I'm calling 911 right when I get back there.
Okay.
I didn't think about it. I'm sorry. I just got off of work. It's fight night.
You don't need to
Like, I
apologize.
worked my off tonight.
Right. All I was getting at, Ryan, is because
I had
because the blood is on you, we would like to collect that blood.
oh my God,
But I have to read.
he had blood pouring out of his stomach, and I plugged it. He said he was fine. Go call the cops. Go call your dad. And I ran to Michael's, and I should have gone to Jean's next door. I didn't think about it. I'm still a little intoxicated. I'm sorry. This is just a lot to be processing right now, and I knew this was dangerous. And
Okay, Ryan, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna read you permission to search form for biological stuff, the blood on your hands and stuff.
yeah.
The reason that we're concerned is based on what you're telling us, there's a potential that this David Del Rosa's blood is intermingled with that, okay? And if that's the case, we want to collect that stuff so that way we have it as evidence, okay? Okay. So Officer Venezio is going to fill this form in quick and then he'll read it to you. And
This is crazy. Can I please call my dad and my mom,
we'll get to that.
please?
Yeah, we got some critical steps here that we need to take first.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's kind of why we wanted the breath sample from you to determine how much you had to drink tonight to see.
You want to try that again? The PBT, the breath sample?
Yeah, I mean, a pint of vodka and 2 tall beers maybe, and whatever they gave me over at the Gold Dust. And that's when I made it home. After the Michaels, where I tried to buy, oh my God, no.
There you go, Ryan. Deep breath. Tight over in the straw and blow till you hear a click. Okay.
What is it?
Don't you know?
Can you please call my dad and his mom?
Yep, we'll get to that.
163.
What is it?
0.163.
With the alcohol test out of the way, the officer proceeds to carry out a DNA test. And Lamb, who is still visibly confused, does cooperate.
Side of your shirt there looks like you got.
Oh, it's from other night.
Okay.
Other night.
And did you have an injury on your stomach?
Oh,
Okay, because the other officer said you had what looked like maybe a cut mark on your stomach or something?
no. Nothing on the stomach.
Okay. What are those marks from?
They were rashed around.
In the process of taking the DNA, the officer notices stab marks on Lamb's chest. The officer questions Lamb about these marks, but he brushes it off, just saying that it was a rash. After the tests, the officer proceeds to read Lamb his rights so they can officially start questioning. Now, it does make sense that to continue to question this man in this state may seem wrong or inappropriate, as it has been proven without a doubt that Lamb is highly intoxicated. Some might say the humane thing to do would be to give him time to sober up so he could defend himself or articulate himself properly. While the Police Code of Conduct for Crime in many countries would state that a police officer should wait until the intoxicated individual is sober before continuing their interview, there is no law that stops or prevents officers from asking an intoxicated individual questions and actively using that evidence against them in a court of law. In the U.S., for example, as long as you have been read your Miranda rights and you acknowledge that you understand those rights, either with a verbal yes or even a slight nod of the head, every statement you make is admissible in court, regardless of your current state. After all, there's an old saying that says, "The drunken man sings an honest song," and Lamb would start singing a very honest song in the following hours. The official investigation began with Officer Wardensky telling Lamb that he is familiar with him and his partner's relationship history. This key point was one of the few reasons why Lamb was the first possible suspect for the police. Before Lamb says anything important, he reasserts the fact that he was drinking. But this time he says he was drinking a lot, in addition to doing drugs. He continues the same story of finding Nixon stabbed when he got home. However, Lamb starts mixing his stories at one point during his explanation. He mentions being with Nixon after telling the officers time and time again that he didn't see him until he got home and found him bleeding to death in the apartment. It doesn't take long after this for Lamb to admit that he had been fighting with Nixon.
Have a seat for me here. I know this is very upsetting for you, and Officer Venezio and I want to talk with you and get to the bottom of all this.
Okay, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
Like I chatted with you a little bit earlier, we have a process that we have to go through in order for us to get to the bottom of all this. So I'm going to read you right now what's called your rights. Okay, I started them a little earlier, but I'm going to finish here, just knowing what rights you have talking to us.
Oh my God, guys, you guys are really good at pointing finger at me.
We don't know what this
Oh
is.
my God.
We don't know. And Ryan, here's the thing, okay, is that we have to be cautious because I've dealt with you and Ryan before when you guys have had disputes,
Yeah.
okay? And so we just want to make sure that we cover all of our bases.
I understand.
You know, and certainly, you know, as if it were my significant other that something bad happened to, I'd want to do everything I possibly could to help out, right?
I just want to get out of here so I can get.
Well, we don't want that. That's our job, okay?
So let me read this to you here, Ryan.
But
Okay?
you can help us.
So this says, I do hereby make the following statement to Officer Venezio and Wardinsky, the Kalispell Police Department, knowing that I may have an attorney in my behalf present and that I do not have to make any statement nor incriminate myself in any manner. I make this statement voluntarily of my own free will, knowing that such statement could later be used against me in any court of law. I declare that this statement is made without any threat, coercion, offer of benefit, favor, or offer of favor,
God, Brian.
leniency, or offer of leniency by any person or persons whomsoever. Do you understand that you have the right to remain silent? I'm looking for yes or no's here, okay? Do you understand you have the right to remain silent?
Yeah.
Do you understand that you have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice? That if you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed before you are asked any questions if you wish, and that you have the right to have the presence of this lawyer while you're questioned. Do you understand those things?
Yeah.
Do you understand that any statements you make or anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law?
Of course.
That was yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you understand that if you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you will still have the right to stop answering these questions at any time? And that you also have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer. Do you understand these things?
Yes.
Right, Ryan. The last one says, I understand the above and I'm willing to make a statement.
Thank you. Thanks for being willing to talk with us.
Of course. Like, I know. Like, I just want to get out of here so I can get this person. You guys are going to do enough to him.
I had a note for
I guess you're going to do enough.
So Ryan, I know that you've told the other officers kind of what took place, but I'm sorry I wasn't there for that. Can you tell me from start to finish? Kind of, you were at work.
It was fight night.
Okay.
So I was drinking.
Okay.
Sometimes we drink at work.
Okay.
I hung out with Amber tonight.
Okay.
So I hung out extra late. And I know I shouldn't have gone home.
What time did you leave work?
I think I clocked out around 11.
Okay.
And I didn't leave there till I don't know. Like, I hung out for 2 tall beers and quite a bit of vodka.
Okay. Who was the bartender tonight?
Lexi, Kenny, and
cornea.
Okay. Alright.
And I hung out and I smoked a bowl with one of them. Sorry.
No, we're not worried about that right now. Okay? Okay. And then what happened?
I went to Michael's.
Okay.
The gas station, the Exxon.
Yeah?
Bought some food. No, yeah, bought some food.
Okay.
Sorry, like you drank a lot, like.
Yeah. What kind of food did you buy?
I bought some tea. I think some donuts. And some jerky. It's what Ryan likes.
Okay.
He really likes the jerky sticks.
Yeah?
And then I went over to the gold test to see who was working.
Yeah?
Took a drink more. I'm sorry.
Okay. You're 21, right? You can drink. Okay.
God, no, please.
Hello, it's Jim.
Please tell me no.
Hey. So,
What about after the gold test ring?
go ahead.
I went out and smoked a bowl. And I got crossfaded. You like too drunk and you get stoned and you throw up a lot and it really spins.
Okay. And where was that at?
It was outside the cold dust.
Okay.
Between Teledeck and Little Caesars.
Okay. Where'd you head after you got sick?
I barfed a few times
Okay.
in the field. And I took a knee. Smoked a couple cigarettes. But Ryan was like, he was in front of me for like a half an hour.
I'm sorry, I missed a step there. So when did you meet up with Ryan?
I don't know if it was at the gold test or if it was when we were smoking a bowl.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. Like,
You don't need to apologize. You're going through a horrible time right now. Okay? You don't need to apologize. You need a second, take a second.
We've been fighting because we've been leaving the house unlocked so I could get him.
Okay.
So I don't technically live there. I stay there without the landlord knowing up until tonight.
After about an hour and 30 minutes into the interrogation, after Lamb's repeated statements, the officer changes the subject back to the marks on Lamb's chest. Lamb tells the officer a completely different story from the one he had told before. These marks were no longer just an old rash. Lamb says that he got the marks during sex that he had had yesterday morning with Nixon. The officer says the marks look like they were from a fork and then proceeds to ask Lamb about his sex life.
Tell me more about the marks on your chest there and your stomach. Can you unbutton your shirt so I can see that? What's that from? It looks like a fork.
Yeah.
What's it from?
Well, we just really fucked up sex. Up sex.
Okay.
Sex.
How old is that injury?
This is yesterday morning, the other morning before.
So Friday morning?
worked.
Would have closed off at 11.
So, yeah, like Friday at like 9.
So, let me tell you a story, okay? All right, and the reason that I'm going to share this with you is because over the course of the last 20 years that I've been doing this job, I've seen a fair amount of things, okay? Not too much shocks or surprises me, okay? A number of years ago, I went to a call, some folks that typically would not call us because they didn't like the police very much. And the male half had a stab wound in the back of on his back there. And when we were trying to sort things out, they both explained that during sex, what they had heard was that if you inflict a little pain during the sexual encounter, that it intensifies things. Okay.
So we like to put belts around each other's necks when we're fucking. Sometimes we'd Benadryl each other and then take video.
Okay.
Sometimes we would immobilize, like completely restrain the other one. And it's nothing to like get woken up having some rough sex. And that's what we're into.
Sure.
Oh my god.
So the fork marks,
Oh my god.
tell me about that.
On the top and right at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I let him top me and it has to be painful or I'll freak out and stop.
Okay.
So the more pain that I get, the more it allows me to be around.
Okay. Did he want pain ever? Or?
Aside from a rough fucking, not a whole lot. There needs to be
Lamb's facade slowly begins falling apart. He contradicts himself and lies numerous times. The Kalispell police now know they are getting closer to the truth. At this point, things start to get a little bit ugly for Lamb as the officers tell him they have already reviewed the security camera tapes at the apartment complex, and while Lamb was caught on camera, David, the man he claims to have been the person behind all of this, was not. It turns out that David De La Rosa was sleeping in his home in Libby, Montana, a city about an hour and a half away from Kalispell. Officers finally decide to tell Lamb their theory on what they believe may have happened that morning. But Lamb, who is beginning to sober up, sticks with his old story, albeit with some minor changes.
I think that probably you guys had an argument. And I think because of the alcohol consumption and maybe some other factors, things got way out of hand.
so wrong. You're so wrong for that.
Okay. Well then, help me figure out what's going on here. You know, it's not David. We've determined that.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so help me figure out what took place. If it's not you and it's not David.
We literally separated at Gold Dust or Michael's. He walked home. I went into Michael's and bought more food.
And your neighbor lady confirmed that Ryan came home first. She was outside, she saw him come in first. And then
I came home and seen blood on the patio thing, and the door was open, and I went in, and he was bleeding, and he was sitting there against all the laundry, against that wall that separates the kitchen from the living room.
somebody at one point told me that you had claimed you tried to resuscitate him.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
He started barfing a lot. And the blood was like all over, like cut out the back of his head. And I just pulled the scissors and I put the sponge and I wiped his chest and I held it on the, he had a wound on his chest and I held it over it and I was holding him. And he kept coughing and I was breathing into him and he said he was fine. And I ran over to Michael because it was the first thing I could think of. I'm sorry, it was like half fucking intoxicated, half stoned, like.
So if you were that out of it, how do you know you didn't do that?
I know. What the fuck question is that, dude?
It's a legitimate
I
question.
guess so. Because I love my husband so fucking much, and I want him.
I don't doubt any of that, Ryan. I don't doubt any of the stuff that you're telling me, that you say you saw the blood, you had a cut on the back of his head, you pulled the scissors out, you put the sponge on there. I don't doubt any of that stuff.
Because I remember walking home, I remember like seeing this stuff, I remember fucking talking to Ryan, like panicking, and like, what do I do? And so go call for help. And I was like, do I call my mom? I said, call your dad. Like, he was fine. Like, he was fine. He was barfing and he was fine. And I left the sponge with him. And I ran to fucking Michael's. I put on that tiki shirt, I put on the shoes, and I ran to fucking Michael's. No.
Okay, so tell me why you had to put a shirt and your shoes on.
I was laying around, I was panicking, I didn't have shoes on, so I slid my shoes on. And the tiki shirt I was already wearing, it was unbuttoned, and I took it off when I got there. And I ran up to him. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know what to do. I've never seen this shit before. He was just bleeding from the back of his head really bad. And I pulled those scissors out of his tummy.
Having made a little progress, the officers give Lamb a sleeping bag and allow him to get some rest. During this time, Officer Wardinsky goes back to the apartment complex and questions the neighbors. It may seem pretty clear that Officer Wardinsky doesn't trust Lamb or believe his woes of grief. Despite Lamb's story, Officer Wardinsky knows there is more to this case. However, he has no evidence to prove that Lamb was responsible. After working on numerous cases like this, Officer Wardinsky knows that if the spouse doesn't outright confess to murder, their hands are considered clean until proven otherwise, so he needs something solid to use against Lamb, and he wasn't going to stop searching until he found it. After reaching the apartment complex, Officer Wardinsky asked the neighbors if they had heard or seen anything that could help them fully understand what had happened that morning. The first two neighbors weren't able to give the officer anything that he could use. However, when he knocked on the third apartment door, the neighbor living there had a very disturbing witness statement to give to Officer Wardinsky. This neighbor told him that he had heard fighting coming from Nixon's apartment while both men were home. The neighbor also said they heard someone scream, "You stabbed me in the chest," before another voice responded with, "You stabbed me in the chest first with a fork." These statements alone were enough for Officer Wardensky to establish probable cause that could lead to charges against Lamb. After getting back to the station, he tells Lamb that he is being charged. It may appear that Lamb was being charged with a deliberate homicide as a technique, or should we say as a fear tactic, to give Lamb a little nudge closer to telling the truth.
Whoa. Whoa. No fucking way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So if there's anything that you're not telling me, now's a good time to be completely honest about it.
How would that make it better right now? Would it change that?
Well, again, you know, I've offered up several scenarios.
I understand. Like, is this something that I should talk to a lawyer about first? Or?
That's completely up to you.
Many expert detectives have said that law enforcement interrogation techniques are so effective they can break down even the most hardened criminal. Lamb had been held now for 8 hours. All those techniques had slowly backed Lamb into a corner. There were still questions he couldn't answer and allegations he couldn't prove. Now, mostly sober, Lamb realizes there is no way out of this situation and that his only option is to finally tell the truth.
So I got carried away a couple times a while ago. We ended up really hurting each other. I mean, we were doing cigarette burns on each other, and he got way more carried away.
Okay.
I couldn't get my hands out, so that was kind of like stopped us for a while.
Okay.
It ended up hurting me a lot more than he had wanted, and so that Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the pokes, or those little poke wounds, I don't think any of those are the ones that are like threatened.
So the scratches on his arms, there was like 2 or 3 scratches on his arm here. Was that from last night then, or this morning?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did that happen?
He did those scratches. He was poking me with the fork. It was getting hotter and hotter. It got me really hard right there in the nipple.
Okay.
Like really, really hard.
Okay.
He wanted to use the scissors on me. And I was too scared. There were 3 pokes in them.
Okay.
And one on the nipple, the one that startled me the most. I don't remember that one. Like, when it was dead on the nipple, it startled me most.
Why did it startle you?
Cause like the fork tip like right on the nipple.
Okay.
And so I'm not startled. That hurt. I mean, it hurt a lot more than what was happening.
Sure.
That witness or the statement from that neighbor. It was consensual. It was a consensual thing we were doing.
Sure.
It was just taken to extremes when we're trying these weird sex things.
Okay.
I don't know if I poked him too hard and he hit his head, or if I poked him in the back of the head. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm trying to, based on that, just think it's a deliberate homicide then?
I don't know. You know, I mean, so you said that he wanted to use the scissors on you, and you said no. So then you used them on him.
I let him use the fork on me. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then you used the scissors on him. And where did you said that, where did you poke him at with the scissors?
I think the first one was like here. Over the side of that.
Okay.
Just at the safe spot.
Yep.
And I think I got his belly fat. Right here.
Okay. Okay. So the deal on the back of the head, how do you think that happened?
I don't know if it's from him falling down and hitting the wall. Like right there where when you walk into the kitchen.
Yep.
Okay. Like I'm really trying to.
No, I get it. So what kind of clothing were you guys wearing?
He had his underwear on. I had basketball shorts.
Okay, the ones you got on now? Okay. So how did the blood get out by the front door? How did that happen?
He got up and was like looking for me.
Okay.
Because I didn't leave him. I didn't leave him in the shower. I didn't leave him anywhere near the bathroom. Like it was right there by the clothes, and it was just like so much blood. And then he started like getting really like just on the back of his head right there. And I thought he had like banged his head, or maybe I poked him in the neck or something.
Do you recall poking him in the neck?
No, that's like no. He was already fucking really drunk, so I don't know if he like oh, I fell and hit his head.
Do you think maybe it could be an overdose situation
I
because of the pills, or?
don't think so.
I mean, certainly we'll do a toxicology on
I don't
him, you know.
think so.
Okay.
So based on that, is that still deliberate homicide then?
So I'm gonna have to call the county attorney and run those things by him and see what he has to say. Okay?
Would you do that for me and let me use the phone to call just my dad?
Yes.
Just my dad. I might
Absolutely.
have to call my aunt because
Yep, that's fine.
they're traveling together
That's
right
fine.
now. But
Yep. Do you know what happened to the scissors?
I really don't. Like, I really don't.
Okay. How about the fork?
It's in the apartment somewhere.
Okay. All right. Do you remember what the scissors looked like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have like whisker ones.
And I saw those in the bathroom, but they had some like black stuff on them or something.
Really?
It wasn't like blood. It was like maybe you had been using it to clean out a pot pipe or something. You know, like
Those were the only. Those were the only. How big were they?
pretty small.
Oh. I think the ones were black handled like this.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Here's the phone.
Yep.
I'll
you
run
get
that by them.
Absolutely.
We can be
Yep.
convenient.
Yep. Okay.
I really did.
I understand. I understand. Okay.
You promise you're not like tricking me to get some information. Like, I really. This is such
No.
like an accident. It's gone like so bad.
Okay. Is there anything that you're leaving out that you haven't told me?
I don't think I was being entirely truthful at the beginning of this because I didn't want it to look like. Like, what are you charging me with? Like, deliver. So, I think I was panicking and, like, just so scared of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, how did the glasses get broke that were on the floor? And the TV get tossed and all that.
The TV was off by the time off the thing by the time I got in. Because I was behind, like, I came into the apartment like 15 minutes maybe after Ryan got there.
Okay.
And we were just frisky, but the TV was already down.
Okay.
The glass that broke, like, while I was on the phone with 911, like, I was panicking, just running in and out of the house.
Okay. There were two broken glasses.
I think they're like Highland or whatever beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so those were right in front of the TV this morning, or on the side of it.
Okay.
But the TV was knocked off when I got in there. The glasses weren't. I think I knocked those down. I think I kicked that picture.
And the bowl that was laying over there.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know about that. Like,
Okay.
could have been on the windowsill. Like, I tore through there really fast after he wasn't responding.
Okay.
Not like tore out of there, but like tore over. Like, started just pounding on doors and nobody would pick up. Oh my god. My mama.
Okay. Let me get the phone for you, okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
It takes the Kalispell Police Department over 9 hours, but Lamb finally confesses. Studies show that a large percentage of sex-related homicides are very difficult to prove or define, which is why the Kalispell officers took their time in breaking down the case. Having confessed, officers now allow Lamb to make his phone calls, and after 11 hours of interrogation, the police officially arrest Lamb for murdering his partner, Ryan Nixon. On the 5th of August 2018, the Kalispell police arrested Lamb. After carrying out their investigations and interrogations, Lamb was charged with 1 count of deliberate homicide for Nixon's death. Police Detective Wardensky believes that Lamb inflicted fatal wounds on the victim using scissors during sexual intercourse. Lamb stabbed his partner 3 times in the abdomen, with one of the blows being so deep that it struck through the victim's sternum. Lamb then failed to render help to his victim as he left the residence for a nearby convenience store to call his parents rather than the first responders. This, of course, led to wasted time, critical time that could have been used to render aid to Nixon, who at that time lay bleeding to death. Lamb would plead not guilty to this charge, and the trial was set for June the 3rd, 2019. The trial for deliberate homicide charges against Ryan Lamb lasted 11 days, finally coming to an end on the 14th of June 2019. Lamb's defense attorneys state that Lamb had only acted in self-defense out of fear for his life as his partner was repeatedly stabbing him with a fork. Emotions flood the courtroom as the victim's family one by one take the stand. The victim's mother, Lynn Nixon, takes the stand first to speak, saying, "What kind of person are you? He would have never done this to you. Shame on you, honestly. Shame on you, Ryan Lamb." Nixon's mother then paused before continuing with, "I've seen no sympathy, no regret. My son is in an urn at my home, and that's all I have left." Next, Nixon's dad, Randy Nixon, says, "None of you have a clue what we're going through. Sometimes I don't even know how I feel. We all tried to help you. I just don't know how you can sit there with your attorneys, how you made us go through this." The last statement for Nixon comes from Amber Nixon Peterson, his little sister, who says, "Look at this room. It's filled with his friends and family. For people to say Ryan was abusive is ridiculous. He was always the life of the party. You used my family, especially my mother. She gave you a roof over your head, food, and money to gamble, and you never appreciated it. You brutally stabbed him. That's not love. That's hate. That's rage." Dozens of Nixon's family and friends attended the hearing, all wearing shirts that sported the message, "Justice for Ryan Nixon." After their statement, the only person to speak on Lamb's behalf is Patty Kennelly, a mental health worker that met Lamb at the North Valley Hospital in February of 2018 after he described having suicidal thoughts. In Ms. Kennelly's words, "I saw him 5 times between February 5th, 2018 and mid-March 2018. And then I saw him again at the Flathead County Detention Center on the day of the incident. He has had a lot of contradictory feelings. He loved Ryan, but he felt he wasn't going to survive the relationship." Ms. Kennelly went on to say that she believes Lamb isn't a threat to anyone in society. When asked by the Flathead County Deputy Attorney Allison Howard if she thinks Lamb is a threat to anyone while he's under the influence of alcohol or drugs, she responds with, "Not to anyone except himself." The last person to take the stand is Lamb himself. He gives a brief statement saying, "Sometimes I wish I had let him kill me that night, but I defended myself. I have no desire to return to Montana. I'm not a threat to anyone or society. I have no more faith living here as a gay man than I did in the 1990s. Even after all of the statements, the presiding judge, Robert Allison, and the jurors could not reach a clear verdict. As we mentioned earlier, sex-related homicides are usually hard to define or prove. Plus, the defense had painted a different picture, one that saw Nixon as the abusive partner, with the poke marks on Lamb's chest to prove it, and a witness statement from a neighbor who clearly heard the words, "You stabbed me in the chest first with a fork." Evidence shows that Lamb had 16 wounds on his chest from a fork, and the supposed inflictor of those wounds, Nixon, of course, was not there to defend himself. On top of all this, some jurors felt that Lamb should be charged with negligent homicide instead of deliberate homicide. During the deliberations, Detective Wardensky gives a statement saying, "I trust the judgment and wisdom of Judge Allison, but first and foremost, I hope the Nixon family can find peace. In retrospect, I'm proud of the investigation we did." After 13 hours of deliberation, the jurors could not decide on a verdict. First, they voted 8-4 for not guilty, but that changed to 11-1. With no clear verdict in sight, Judge Allison declared a mistrial. The Flathead County prosecutors later file an amended charge of negligent homicide in addition to the original charge of deliberate homicide on the 1st of August 2019. The new charge argues that the individual's actions or failure to act caused the victim's death and amounted to simple negligence. Lamb pleaded not guilty to both charges on the 21st of August 2019. After a series of motions and appeals, Lamb enters a plea of guilty by way of an Alford plea to the negligent homicide charges. In other words, Lamb entered an Alford plea, a situation where a defendant in a criminal case still claims his innocence, but also admits that the evidence presented by prosecutors would likely convince a judge or jury to find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This way, Lamb would avoid the more severe deliberate homicide charge and the accompanying 10 to 100 years in prison it could bring. The district court accepted Lamb's plea and a sentencing hearing was held on the 12th of February 2020. The court sentenced Lamb to 10 years in prison. As of today, Ryan Lamb is living out his 10-year sentence in Montana's state prison for Nixon's murder. At the end of the day, it was pretty clear to see why both the jurors and the presiding judge could not reach a definite verdict for this particular case. Just like his defense, a lot of people believed Lamb had acted in self-defense. And just like the prosecutors, others believed Lamb was an abusive and depraved killer who stabbed his partner to derive some morbid form of sexual pleasure. As for which side to believe, we'll leave that up to you. Tell us if you believe Ryan Lamb is guilty or innocent in the comments. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like the video, and please subscribe to the channel. Also, hit the notification bell in order to stay up to date each time we reveal a new shocking case. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes peeled. You never know